Donald Trump has also had this to say about the bedrock American principle of free speech.
America is also a free nation once again. On day one, I signed an executive order to stop all government censorship. No longer will our government label the speech of our own citizens as misinformation or disinformation.
Now, Australia doesn't have a First Amendment like the United States, and frankly, I think we are all the poorer for it. But nevertheless, Peter Dutton should follow Donald Trump's lead here and put an end to efforts to police what people can say in Australia. That means standing up for the truly liberal positions that the Liberal Party, there's a hint in the name there, was founded on, by axing, among other things, the office of the E-Safety Commissioner, which bizarrely, the Liberals had a hand in creating when they were in government, and continuing to fight efforts by Labor to restrict our speech online and off. Now, this is the biggie, and I'm afraid this is already a bit of a worry. The Paris Agreement. Here's the moment when Donald Trump signed to a cheering crowd an executive order taking America out of the Paris Climate Accords.
Thank you, sir. The next item here is the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty. We're going to save over $1 trillion by withdrawing from that treaty.
Did you hear those cheers? But sadly, though, it seems that opposition leader Peter Dutton has signaled that if he wins government, the coalition would not pull Australia out of Paris. Seriously. I mean, what is the point of this? To secure that Friends of the ABC vote that will never come across to the coalition in a million years? I don't get it. China is on track to build 300 new coal-fired plants before the end of the decade. Climate targets are smashing the economies of every European nation except for France, which has scads of nuclear power as a get-out-of-jail-free card on this stuff. And I say, good on Dutton for pursuing nuclear power, but if we don't get out of Paris, there may be no Australian industry left here in the country for those plants, those reactors to power before the first reactor turbine starts spinning. Now, another big Trump one here. And when it comes to immigration, yes, you knew this was coming. Australia doesn't have quite the same problems with illegal aliens coming in through our borders as the United States does. But that doesn't mean we don't have really huge problems here. And in fact, the dirty little secret of our supposedly orderly migration program is that it is actually out of control. As of last month, official statistics from the Department of Home Affairs show that there are 91,001, very precise number there, individuals who are here in Australia having made asylum claims that were found to be unsubstantiated, dodgy, illegitimate, or just plain trying it on. Big number. So, do you know how many were deported that same month for having their asylum claims rejected? Just 13. 5 involuntarily, 8 voluntarily. Want to do something about the housing crisis, Mr. Dutton, or our flailing social cohesion? Don't just do something about our mass migration problem and the dodgy student visas going to Uber Eats drivers and the thousands of visas granted to Gazans, though canceling those as a first order of business would be a great first step. Start actually also booting people from the country who have no right to be here and yet, for some reason, are allowed to stay on after exhausting appeal after appeal at taxpayer expense. Donald Trump is already ramping up the detentions and the deportations, and the hope is that many illegal migrants in the United States who should not be in the country will realize the gig is up and self-deport. Donald Trump is already ramping all of this stuff up here, and once this is done, you do the same thing in Australia, you get serious, and a lot of this problem will also, likewise, take care of itself. And finally, another big one, take this from Trump's playbook, get serious about government spending. which is taking up an even greater share of the economy, and all of our regulations, which are crushing not just small businesses, but driving our most productive mining industry overseas. An equivalent to the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, which Matt Canavan and I have both suggested should be called DINGO here in Australia, working from outside government to slash government, couldn't come a moment too soon. Yesterday, we had the excellent news that Jacinta Nampijinpa Price will be adding government efficiency to her shadow portfolio. This should be a full-time operation if and when the coalition comes back to power. Now, there are some folks who will say that, oh, this is just Trumpianism, blah, 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 whatever. But the policies of the Trump administration that put the country first and the people and their rights ahead of government are, for the most part, really just common sense. But as the Donald Trump's return shows in the United States, it is what voters want. Because, as the saying goes, nothing succeeds like success.